How is everybody doing? So, before we got off of all the other platforms that I was on, we were getting ready to read Cassie's letter. So, now let's get into what Cassie is saying. All right. Make sure you are following, subscribe, make sure you share it out. Let's get people up in here. All right. So, this is Cassie's letter, and it goes, Dear Judge Submarinian, I have been in a cycle of thought and then overthought writing this letter to you. If there is one thing I have learned from this experience is that victims and survivors will never be safe. Damn. Look at y'all throwing y'all stickers up. They look so cute. That's a powerful statement. That victims and survivors will never be safe. Although I can hope for justice and accountability, I have come to not trust anything. I hope that your decision considers the truths at hand that the jury failed to see. Hey, Bobby. Hey, Swagger. Hey, Hattie B. Hey, everybody. I'm going to read that again. I'm sorry. I have to read that again. All right. Because we are over here. We're on the Twitch, honey. Let me get this Twitch up. So I can see what's going on in the chat, because I don't see when people do subscriptions and all that other stuff. I don't get to see it. All right, let me make sure that this is muted. It is muted. Okay, and I'm going to put it over here and I'm going to keep it open. All right. I don't know what this is on my screen. Okay. All right. So let me start over. Up, first time in the chat. Hey, Mary and girl, Georgia World. Girl, you got me on Twitch. Well, welcome, Mercedes. Welcome to all of the first time people in the chat. All right, chat, let's get it cranking. Throw your henny heads in the chat, because we getting into this. I'm going to start over. I got to start this over, okay? So, Dear Judge Submarinian, I have been in a cycle of thought and then overthought writing this letter to you. If there is one thing I have learned from this experience, it is that victims and survivors will never be safe. Although I can hope for justice and accountability, I have come to not trust anything. I hope that your decision considers the truths at hand that the jury failed to see. For 4 days in May, while 9 months pregnant with my son, I testified in front of a packed courtroom about the most traumatic and horrifying chapter in my life. I testified that from the age of 19, Sean Combs used violence, threats, substances, and control over my career to trap me in over a decade of abuse. He groomed me into performing repeated sex acts with hired male sex workers during multi-day freak-offs, which occurred nearly weekly. I was forced into lingerie and heels, told exactly how to look, and plied with drugs and alcohol so he could control me like a puppet. These events were degrading and disgusting, leaving me with infections, illness, and days of physical and emotional exhaustion. Before he demanded it all again, sex acts became my full-time job, used as the only way to stay in his good graces. I testified that I learned to read Sean Combs' signals, knowing that when he spoke of freak-offs, he was demanding them, and that refusing meant punishment, losing my car, my phone, or worse. He controlled every part of my livelihood and threatened to destroy my reputation by leaking sex tapes. And, a threat he repeated often. His power over me eroded my independence and sense of self until I felt I had no choice but to submit. When he believed I had wronged him or was not sufficiently responsive, he also threatened people around me and those close to me, including my family. I regularly worried that displeasing him meant putting my family and friends' safety at risk. I testified how beyond those threats, Sean Combs frequently used violence to get his way. Over the nearly 11 years we were together, Sean Combs would hit me, punch me, stomp on my face, pull my hair, and throw my body to the ground and against the wall. The jury saw pictures of bruises on my back from Combs kicking me and saw the deep gash over my eye he caused when he slammed me into a bed frame. The entire courtroom watched actual footage of Combs kicking and beating me as I tried to run away from a freak off in 2016. People watched this footage dozens of times, seeing my body thrown to the ground, hands over my head, curled into a fetal position to shield me from the worst blows. This physical violence caused bruises that makeup artists paid for by Sean Combs would cover up, as well as permanent scars all over my body. During my time with Combs, I was in a consistent state of hypervigilance as I was always anticipating demands for sex acts or otherwise fearing retribution for any perceived slight. My descent into substance abuse was directly correlated with his increased control over my body, money, my freedom, and my will. I used those drugs to push through the horrifying sex acts he demanded and to numb myself from the physical pain and emotional turmoil I was consistently in. While the defense attorneys at trial suggested that my time with Combs was akin to a great modern love story, nothing could be further from the truth. Nothing about this story is great, modern, or loving. It was a horrific decade of my life stained by abuse, violence, forced sex, and degradation. Degradation. I spent the last 7 years of my life slowly rebuilding myself, physically getting clean from the drug abuse Sean Combs forced and encouraged, and mentally understanding how to a seemingly insurmountable live with a seemingly insurmountable level of trauma. The horrors I endured drove me to have thoughts of unaliving, backspacing, ones I almost followed through on. If not for my family's intervention and urging that I seek professional care, that she would have done it if she hadn't seeked professional care. I have been to rehab and have taken part in dozens of types of therapy modalities to confront, compartmentalize, and cope with the horrific memories of sexual and emotional abuse I endured for nearly 10 years. While what he did to me always while what he did to me always present, I am slowly learning how to live my life free of the fear and horrors I endured. And in doing so, am fully devoted to my husband and children. I still have nightmares and flashbacks on a regular, everyday basis to continue to require psychological care to cope with my past. My worries that Sean Combs or his associates will come after me and my family is my reality. I have in fact moved my family out of the New York area and am keeping as private and quiet as I possibly can because I am so scared that if he walks free, his first actions will be swift retribution towards me and others who spoke up about his abuse at trial. As much progress as I have made in recovering from his abuse, I remain very much afraid of what he is capable of and the malice he undoubtedly harbors towards me for having the bravery to tell the truth. His defense attorneys claim he is a changed man and he wants to mentor abusers. I know firsthand what real mentorship means, and this disgusts me. He is not being truthful. I know that who he was I know that who he was to me, the manipulator, the aggressor, the abuser, the trafficker, is who he is as a human. He has no interest in changing or becoming better. He will always be the same cruel, power hungry, manipulative man that he is. When I came out with my allegations in my civil case, he flatly denied them again and again. It was only after actual video footage corroborated the exact words in my civil complaint that he issued an insincere apology on the internet. Thanks to the footage and my testimony, this is also something he will forever be associated with. For over a decade, Sean Combs made me feel powerless and unimportant, but my experience was real, horrific, and deserves to be considered. While the jury didn't seem to understand or believe that I engaged in freak offs because of the force and coercion the defendant used against me, I know that is truth. And his sentencing should reflect the reality of the evidence of my lived experience as a victim. Reliving in detail the events and truths described throughout the trial, and this letter caused me tremendous emotional pain. I'm trying with all that I am to move on. I hope that your sentencing decision reflects the strength it took for victims of Sean Combs to come forward. I hope that your decision considers the many lives that Sean Combs has unpinned with his abuse and control. Thank you for your time and attention. Cassandra Ventura Fine. Whoa. Sherm, what's poppin', Sherm? Welcome, welcome. This your first time here on the Twitcher. Whoa. Chat, 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 chat. I'm sorry. Y'all know how I am. I'm not a flip-flopper, but my opinion is subject to change based on the information presented in front of me. Chat, 11 years. 11 years. It ain't overkill. How the hell do you read that letter right there and not say that? See, this is why I wanted to read all the documents. Now, just reading the government's case, I'm like, I feel like it's overkill. But reading Cassie's letter, that wasn't no chat GPT like, Carisha, please. That was not a chat GPT letter. You could tell Cassie sat down and wrote that letter. She pulled you in with that letter. That's her experience. And what she said rings true for a lot of victims. And that's how people feel. Victims will never get justice. And there will always be people who feel like, oh, well, she wanted it. She was submissive to it. She was this, she was that. Listening to this girl write this down after seeing her big and pregnant, giving her testimony, how could you not feel like, okay, I see where the government is coming from? I probably should have stayed on YouTube, but that's all right. We'll just clip this and make it a video so they get it.